Welcome, Zoe.
Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. And I'm going to present to you some recent poems that I've been working on, which respond to the French Republican calendar. So I'm going to do a piece that's based around that. And so it's just helpful to know, if you don't already, that this was a calendar introduced in France in 1793 that replaced the saints' days with the names of fruits and vegetables and agricultural inputs. Names that were responding to the season, and it was a new way of thinking about time. And so it didn't last for very long. Obviously, in Chile, there is a different season now than here. So, seasons are very located. But I'm going to think about the autumn that I'm in now, and invite you to think about revolutionary time. I've realized that I have an echo that is perhaps causing problems, so I'm just going to see to that, and I'll be right back.
I think this is the calendar, her calendar, that we published with Crater, right?
Yes, thank you. So there's 1 month of the calendar has come out with Crater Press. Yeah, so that's the month of Frimaire, yeah? So we haven't got there yet. It's with a painting by Sharon Kivland there on the front. And so now I've finished the whole book. So it's that's 1 month of the entire book, and I'm going to focus on the month of Vendémiaire. Raisin, grape. The city trickles down your throat in blood. Swallowed days swallow you crushed. You leave your trace in the season mutating. What state is not a state of change? Stand up. Saffron. Crushed yellow stains your fingers from stamen to sunset to gold. In this struggle, the trace of a head or a planet turning. Châtaigne, chestnut. After the summer comes a glut of chestnuts blackened in fire, erupting, the shell cracks. Between finger and thumb. If it looks like a brain, eat it. Autumn crocus, col chic. A crack in the bulb, a clean start and late green light. Spring on repeat goes naked and leafless. Round and falling into storms we hold together. What is a revolution, if not where what goes around comes around? It is not a state of change. What Stand is up. A revolution, if not where what goes around a head or a planet? It is not a state of change. What is a revolution, if not where what goes around a head or a planet? It is not a state of change. What is a revolution, if not where what goes around a head or a planet? It is not a state of change. What is a revolution? If it's not where what goes around a head or around the state, it is not a state of change. What is a revolution? If it's not where what goes around a head or around the state, it is not a state of change. What is a revolution? If it's not where what goes around a head or around the state, it is not a state of change. What is a revolution? If it's not where what goes around a head or around the state, it is not a state of change. What is a revolution? If it's not where what goes around a head or around the state, it is not a state of change. What is a revolution? If it's not where what goes around a head or around the state, it is not a state of change. What is a revolution? If it's not where what goes around a head or around the state. Old story, but a break in the surface. There came a white horse, not that old story, but a break in the surface. There came a white horse. Where the edge of a wave repeats nothing. Balsamine, touch me not, balsam, scatter wide in the insurgency, quick in the hand, a seed pod explodes nothingness in the human system of a garden. Carotte, carrot. scrape earth from skin, where bright sugar seeps through that other taste of what's come up from underneath. Amaranth. This red means nothing if you've forgotten hunger. A handful of seeds spitting in the pan, after all the burnings where love lies bleeding. Anise, parsnip. At root is an idea you can't taste in this darkness. But how do you tell what should have been buried and what keeps, what must keep pushing back? Pomme de terre, potato. Scrabble under the skin of earth for the starch pale mud apple, and ask what future lies under the skin of the seasons you can still decipher, or the darknesses you can still count. Immortal, straw flower. To a papery thinness, not the flower but the shape of its idea, still gleaming, indestructible. Potiron, squash. A gouged out gourd, a sunset. What were you dreaming of? Coming and going, a movement accomplished at 6s and 7s, return, sunrise. Mignonette. Belief in sky is what holds it up. Roots hidden deep in the sun. Only heady scent escapes the fight between yellow you once knew and these ragged petals. Anne, donkey. Ears tuned forwards, a pull on a back hoof. A footing lost and found, always change, moving through fur and lashes, a smoking muzzle. Belle de nuit, marvel of Peru. Who has your attention and what's it worth in the stretched out hours? She comes in colours, steps into night's movement where darkness is increased by one. Citrouille. Time to turn into another sunset globe. Hold steady. After all, what do I know about where this carriage is heading with its windows all on fire? The day you're dreaming of is already here. A bloom of down settles on the muse as chlorophyll degrades and love costs nothing as it ripens, a darker pigmentation coming through. Nave, turnip. A bloom of down settles on the muse as chlorophyll degrades and love costs nothing as it ripens. In place of a planet turning purple, red or greenish glazed, she remembered turnips. The room grew smaller. Aubergine. Yes, but can you read what it says? Not the pale flesh tracing round the seed like faint letters, but the tissues of knowledge, not your own. Chili pepper, piment. Who or what inflicts it? Pain is red. It's too simple a diagnosis. For the edge of feeling you can't reach between kiss and pepper spray. Translation ripples a supplies chain from wolf peach to golden apple. Water grows fat on capital. You say tomato, I say truncation of ACC synthase. You say endless summer. Tournesol, sunflower. Roll a ring of flame against the sky as Earth turns on a point of light. This uncertain hope takes more than one blazing head. gorge, barley, whose head did no thinking. A scarecrow marks a human boundary, where the birds came and the mice, resigned to his fate, roughed up in wind. Tonneau, barrel, lignin breakdown to vanilla, oak in the mouth where woods are the shape of waiting, in seepage of oxygen. This red darkens, the trees speak with your tongue.
Now you can open your mic.
Thank you.
Amazing, Zoe. Thank you very much. I have a couple of questions to start this discussion, but before that, would you like to tell us something more about what you already played, or?
Yeah, okay. Yes, I'm. I mean, I'm sort of working from a sequence of poems, so it's been a way of sort of thinking through different kinds of time, and I was just really fascinated when I discovered this calendar that it's happening at a time of complete change and like a restarting, a resetting of, excuse me, I've got tomato in my teeth, sorry. Of everything, and yet at the same time, by making a calendar that's very cyclical, it's going back to something that's really old and of course, you know, this is often the way. I think that this sort of, in the idea of revolution, there's something that goes round, but also something that's a break, and I find the paradox of that really sort of interesting in the times that we're in at the moment. So I've been sort of living with this calendar for a few years actually, while I've been writing the poems. This is the first time I've really tried to make a performance out of it. Maybe the last, but it's I think I like sort of thinking about, when I think about sound, I suppose I'm quite interested in extending the idea of what a voice is to inanimate objects, and it was, I suppose, quite tricky to do that in this setting because the technology's completely unfamiliar to me. But yeah, so I think of it as maybe having a conversation with objects, or how we live with them.
Yeah, and that was the first thing I noticed when you started, and I started to think is we usually talk very much about visual and sound dimensions in poetry, but you started eating, drinking, so in a way, of course, it was like also adding the other senses. I mean, the how do you say when you eat something? ¿Cómo se dice
the taste,
the taste, exactly.
Yes.
The taste, the odors, and all that. So I mean, and it's fine because I started to think, well, that's exactly what Zoom cannot bring us. I mean, we can see you and hear you, but we cannot taste or smell the things that you're getting into your performance. And in fact, I think there's very little poetry that deals in, I mean, performance poetry that deals with other senses than the vision and sound. So I like that very much. How do you thought about it, or it was just?
Thank you. No, I mean, I wish we were in the same room, because I now have, I mean, you probably wouldn't want to eat this watermelon. Now I've been sort of
I would love to eat it. I love watermelon.
But
I was like that.
I will have a nice salad, afterwards, and some
like
soup.
Like an attachment in an email, please.
But yes, I think I've been thinking about that a lot as well. That but also I'm sitting at my dining table, and this is a place of social exchange, and and so is this this wonderful meeting that that you've made here, and but they are different, and so I am sort of thinking about, I suppose, this what the way I would like to be hospitable too, because I also love to cook for people, and so maybe I think of performing as something quite connected with that as well, and I think that's what we're seeing at this moment of isolation. We're also seeing how much we miss, I suppose, those moments after a reading, or just bumping into somebody, or being able to eat together, and realizing that they are very connected with poetry, and also I think with sort of forms of sort of social movement. I mean, this was a revolution, and that this came out of. And the last time that this calendar was reintroduced was during the Paris Commune of 1871, and so there was this this moment of sort of optimism and collective idealism that was in that moment, that is submerged maybe, and latent, and I'm very interested in how those ideas sort of get buried perhaps, but still retain charge of some kind.
Dirk says that you still have a little delay. If you can turn
echo,
it. Or echo.
I could actually, maybe I can just completely change what I'm.
How do you prefer?
Yes, let me just. So I want to actually go into the normal Zoom
but
setting.
at the same time, it's nice. or you can put like the path faster and slower.
So does that work better? Is that better now?
No.
No.
That's nice. Let's go like that. Like this. It's not disturb me too much.
Sounds from the vegetable universe.
We're inside the melon.
I think maybe I'm stuck in the vegetable universe forever because turn off original sound. Go to microphone.
Yeah, go to microphone.
Yeah, so I've tried to, and I've said turn off original. Oh dear.
Oh, well,
But anyway, I think it could. Do you understand, everyone, what she said? Yeah, we can keep it like that.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. Yes, I don't know. It's just it's going through a lot of wires, and I don't know.
Maybe you have the echo of the RC.
Perhaps if I come like that, that's because I didn't think I had an echo on it, but. Hang on.
But maybe just move the microphones.
Yeah.
This is beautiful.
Yeah. No, the other one. The other one. We don't listen to you anymore then.
Is that better?
Perfect.
Yeah. Sorry, I've spent a long time plugging everything in and I can't remember what I did.
That was totally lovely. So
Well,
brilliant.
And the other sense I wanted to ask you about is touch, which is another sense that we can't transfer through the medium. And I want to ask you because, well, you shared with me a couple of texts you're preparing for a book, and I want to ask you about all that. But this chapter about the listening bodies, and you start talking about this beautiful idea. It's that, in a way, we hear not only with the ears but also with the rest of the body, especially the bass frequencies, and that's how people that is deaf, for example, can dance if they feel the vibration, as when you're playing like electronic, very deep electronic music, you feel it in your body. How do you think about that relationship of touch and I'm thinking not only like touching something, but also the presence of the bodies when you're performing, just as you said before. And I don't know, maybe you can walk around the place or play with the distances between the people. I don't know, there's a lot of ways that you can use your body and that senses.
Yeah, I think, I mean, what I'm most aware of with this is that what I like making really immersive sound, but it's it's very difficult to do in this medium. So so there's a sort of I think a tension between different ways of listening, and there's that very sort of emotional response to something that is a sort of a physical reaction to sound that is really kind of primordial, and that does something to you and you don't know what it's doing. But then there's the other sorts of sound that are more you're attending to, you're sort of processing them, you're thinking, oh, what's that texture, trying to work, how does this make that sound, and where does this come, you're trying to locate, so you're always sort of framing sound in knowledge. And and I think that that's a sort of an interesting tension, because I really respond to that, the sort of the force of sound. But I know that a lot of the time when I'm listening to things that interest me, I'm not just doing that. My brain is sort of active and sifting and trying to work out what things are. So there are different. So I think what I'm trying to think about is the different kinds of listening that are involved, and then there's another sort of listening, which is listening to language.
Yeah.
And I think for a long time I didn't realize how different it was when you listen to language and you listen to something that's not language.
Yeah.
And I think that they are quite separate, and I think that comes from working with musicians who often, I've collaborated with people, and my husband's a musician. I have worked a lot with him in the past, and people say, well, just make some noise, just say some words. It doesn't matter what you say, and your voice is just an instrument. It's just material, and so it's on the one hand, it's quite interesting to think of a voice like that, and on the other, for me, it isn't. I am trying to do things with language when I use language, and so when I mix words with sound, I find that those are sort of competing tendencies, because in one way I think, oh well, I'm quite happy just to let the language dissolve, and then on the other, it does. These are poems, and I forget sometimes that it's frustrating for people if they really can't hear what I'm saying. So
and I had another question, and then I'll open, because I'm sure everyone wants to talk more with you. But I wanted to ask you about this project of not project, this book. It's finished already, but I don't know if you finished it during this last month, or if in any way, maybe not directly in this book, but for further reflections. But how has this situation of talking via Zoom and not being able to participate, of be part of concerts or readings or whatever, has made you think about sound and performance and all that? Because Zoom is, it's amazing. We have the opportunity to meet every week with people from lots of different countries. But at the same time, the sound is not as good. It's compressed. It left a lot of frequencies behind. We know there are limitations, of course. So, has it influenced your reflections around this book and further reflections?
Yeah, I suppose, well, different things. The book really, it sort of it came together over these last months, and well, it's been really interesting to realize that I was writing about food, about need for food, about sort of social upheaval and the relation of food to that, and suddenly we have supermarkets running out of basic food, which you actually couldn't have imagined a year ago. It was something in where I live that was completely outside our sort of experience, and so I suppose it's been building for a while, because there's also this sort of trauma over Brexit, and probably, if anything, it's more of a response to that. I think this is my response to Brexit, is now I adopt the Brexit revolutionary calendar, So
I ask you that question also because I have been finishing a book this month also, a critical book, and I had planned to start the preface talking, well, this was a book that I was able to write because I was traveling the last 2 or 3 years, meeting with lots of people, going to archives and all that. For me, it was like a trip book. And I'm ending it in total reclusion, so it's so paradoxical.
But also, I have to say too that actually just stopping, just not traveling so much has really made me think about doing sound stuff again, because I had had a bit of a break from it just because everything had sort of got too much, and partly because of these, you know, Wednesday nights, and partly just from, you know, being in the same place for a bit longer. You know, I've been coming back to trying things out again. So yes, it's been a sort of return to something. I was doing it more until about 5 years ago, but 5 years of just, I don't know what's happened to them. So, yeah.
Well, if anyone wants to ask, make any comments, please feel free to. Martin?
Before we get too far away from the idea of Brexit, one of the other things that it makes it very relevant is that you're doing the fruits, the name of the fruits in French and then in English. And one of the major issues, of course, is the import-export of fruits and what happens if there's no deal Brexit. And, you know, so that makes it like super relevant, thinking about fruits in those terms. What do you want to say?
Yeah, no, thank you. Yes, and but also what I got very interested while I was writing in the fact that the traveling of food is also the traveling of language. You know, so the names of things, travel with along the trade routes. And I'm trying to think if there are any particular examples of in what I read. I missed out a few actually because my papers got in a muddle. But yeah, so for example, sarrasin, which is a really intriguing word. I mean, so I was looking into the etymologies of words as well. So buckwheat in English, but sarrasin, which seems to come from a root like Saracen, and it seems to have this idea of sort of otherness and othering, you know, but it's a seed, and so that there are various others cropped up as I was writing it. So in fact, you know, finding out about the plants became a way of finding out about these movements of language. And you realize, you know, that, well, of course, language is always crossing borders, and, you know, plants and vegetables are also entirely, you know, disregarding any kind of national frontier. Yeah.
But
oh, sorry, you're talking, Martin?
no, just I want to say that in a moment, Zoe, you say that you were not in beyond language, or not, it was not language. I just like remember when you asked that, in which moment you make like the kind of feeling that there is no language, or you're in the boredom of another thing, another composition of things. I don't know.
Yeah. Yes, I suppose. Well, probably it's in what I'm doing there. It's in the layering of different languages, and the sort of layering and processing, and where it becomes sort of verbal material that you know, there's a voice in there but it becomes quite indistinct, or then it becomes processed and it becomes becomes something else. Then
something with the same time you are like cooking, and the same time we say we were cooking in the same moment, and you put us in that kind of dimension or space of a mood of like cooking is sound. And when you take the watermelon, you say please, all the spirit, come to see that moment, wow, watermelon. And then and imagine that, and when you say that that is not language, imagine that kind of different kind of virus, or I don't know what thing that transmit the poetry, not by language, but anyway, but by the
I think, well, I mean, obviously, yeah, cooking is a language, and food is a language, isn't it? You know, and if you, I mean, I think if you, like, if you give somebody food, then that in that gesture, you know, that it's a gesture that is, you know, highly cultured. I mean, there's, if you think about how you eat, or just drinking wine or slurping wine, there's a language that's sort of distorted there, because you're not supposed to slurp when you drink wine, but it's part of a language of how we can consume food and drink, isn't it? That there, you know, so it's, yeah, it's sort of it's a cultural, there are cultural practices that are like languages.
Yeah, we can learn also language, like yeah, make that sound. It's like you are killing a watermelon, you know, like.
Yeah, I watched quite a few YouTube videos of horror sound effects.
Sound poetry effects. Sound poetry effects.
Sound poetry effects, yes, but apparently, yeah, Mortal Kombat is all the sounds are made with vegetables, and yeah, so
yeah, maybe we can put some those sound around the world, you know, in a kind of between the magnetosphere and the atmosphere, and put to like help humanity to take his way around all the limits of language.
Yeah,
no?
yeah.
We put a watermelon floating around the.
Yes, well, actually, you know, so the other thing I was thinking about with all of these round fruits, you know, and then there's the planet going round, which is why it's, you know, seasons happen, and, you know, floating. Other planets. Yeah, so the idea of rotation and turning and roundness is definitely in there. So yes, I think a watermelon is a planetary object, certainly.
Does anyone want to put a question to Zoë? Thank you, Zoë, to accept our invitation. It's wonderful. Great.
Oh, I wanted to finish my comment about and also mention the language with wanted to say that part that script came in to the performance was very I mean, it really was for me it's amazing. And that was the part that you showed the aubergine and said just read it. I think it worked in many levels, because that was then again the first time that we encountered script in your performance. It was sound, and it was words, and it was food, and it was smell, and everything, and suddenly there's writing, and the writing is on the fruit as well, I mean on the vegetable, and you have to read it. And the other thing that I think it really worked was, I think this actually wouldn't work in normal setting. It really worked well on Zoom, because you just put it close to the camera, and all we could see was the aubergine, and we really could read it. It was a great effective part of the performance.
Good, thank you. Yes, it's true that yeah, I mean, a lot of this wouldn't really work if you were on a stage, because yes, it's a small domestic thing to do. Yes, so yeah, but it's quite an old aubergine. I got it cheap in the supermarket, and which is why the writing showed up really well.
You read better when you get older.
Yeah. The other thing is I didn't really practice on the vegetables, because I realize I find it very difficult to throw away food, and so, you know, I couldn't buy a watermelon just to practice. I had to eat just the once, yes.
Hi, Zoe.
Hi.
Hi, thank you for the reading performance. It was exciting to see, because I was of course, I read the calendar a year ago. I think it was last year.
Yeah.
And having the performance now, even if it's another month, it makes a total different sense from reading it on the page. It's almost like these words that I was reading one every day, like become an experience, no? Like you bring them to life, no? With the performance, because all the senses that are involved, no? I really like that. And also thinking about Brexit. Sorry. No, I was thinking how fruit and vegetables and most in the UK were like accessible, right? It was like we had everything on every season. That's when I was 18 in the year 2000 and I first arrived in London, that was one of the things that struck me most. I was like, oh, they have strawberries in January. How is that? Or banana, all these like vegetables that come from all the world, and you have them there every day. So it's almost revolutionary to go back to the calendar. And I know that a part of Brexit, the Lexit, are thinking about going back to the left exit, no? Going back to the land and to the seasons of Britain, no? But of course, that's a lie, no? That they are. But it's interesting how these tensions of going back to the season and capitalism are like. Like,
yeah, absolutely, yeah. So. Yeah, no, I mean, there's everything about Brexit. Everything is catastrophic, you know. Just
yeah,
completely. But no, but yeah, we went. Well, I couldn't have a launch for the book, so we went for a walk in the botanical gardens near here. So between where I live and the university, there's a very lovely botanical gardens. And so I it was the first day. It was day of the grape, which was a week or two ago, and we went for a walk. But a friend of mine came, who is very good at finding wild food, and so we were walking, and she was looking for all the wild things that perhaps we've forgotten how to eat or how to cook. And Sian Malangas David, she's very very good at noticing things. I mean, I found out about quite a few sort of wild foods while I was writing this. But I haven't managed to locate and eat all of them. But I think it's something that I'm interested in, in doing, sort of thinking about more, and sort of just developing that connection with with where we are, and eating what grows here. Although there's some of those wild foods then also get fetishized and become these sort of expensive luxuries. So all of that
organic.
Yeah. So but I think but it's interesting you say about just sort of reading it daily, and well, thank you, that's lovely, and thank you very much, and and in a way that's the idea, is to try and make a slow time, and to think about these different sort of domestic practices too that mark time, and like eating and preparing food and finding food, and that's actually how we live part of our days, but sometimes the part of them that we don't notice.
Yeah. Well, thank you. It's food for thought anyway.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I like the performance very much as well, and especially how the sound and the language came together, but there were still two distinct entities, I would say. You could see the poetry is there, and then there is a sound. But I'm still thinking about this this difference. How do you really differentiate the sound from the language exactly? Because of course the language has a sound as well, and so where is the exact difference between those two things for you?
Yeah, well, I don't mean there isn't in a way, except that I suppose it's the way around that I've worked, that it comes from something that's written before I perform it, and yeah, and I suppose yeah, there's room to explore further in working the other way around, and yeah, why do I not work like that? I don't know. I think, yeah, I think I sort of get caught up in something that is a sort of a structure of ideas, and that is the way round it tends to happen, really. And so yeah.
So you start with the language first, or with the poem with the written language first, I would say. Is that right?
It's kind of, except that but then sometimes I start with, when I'm writing something, I actually have a real sound that is, I mean, I haven't made it. It's not a sound I've made, but it is responding to a sort of imaginary sound before I write it. It's a bit difficult to describe, but in fact, in this sequence of poems, there's quite a lot of references to actually to Pink Floyd as well. So there's sort of a lot of song references in there, especially the Piper at the Gates of Dawn. There were more, but I had to take them out because the publisher was worried about copyright, and so so they're very concealed references now. But there was a sort of soundtrack of this that was there when I was writing, and then I wrote it, and then and then it becomes but then I was thinking, okay, well, what sounds do vegetables make, and how could I listen to them? And I don't know. They make more sounds than I know how to get them to produce.
Anyway, I think you should join Jörg's vegetable orchestra, I guess, as a special guest.
Yes. Well, yes. Yes. I mean, but the vegetable, that seems to be doing a different thing, actually. The vegetable orchestra, because in a way, many musical instruments are made of vegetables, aren't they? Like a sitar is made of a gourd, flutes are made of bamboo. I mean, it's not new really to make instruments out of vegetables, but then they become musical. So it's very skilled to make a flute out of a carrot, but I don't think it's a skill I'm ever going to acquire. And so
it's not that hard to do it.
Yes. So
No.
Yeah, but I mean, it's very impressive. But yeah.
Yeah, it's just also we also do things like you do. Like it reminded me a lot. I really enjoyed it. Also because I think you use it quite differently than we do, because we make pieces and stuff. And for you, it's I don't know. Because you mentioned the sound effects thing, and that's kind of. Yeah. I researched it also years ago because I was intrigued by that they use vegetables for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's also funny that now you mentioned Pink Floyd, because I heard this line, which has kind of irritated me, because is that maybe an English phrase? And now you say, oh no, it's a line from the Piper.
Yeah. Which one was it?
Was it? I don't know. I don't remember it.
Because there's a whole lot I quoted from Pink Floyd, but then it was actually from the I Ching. So because
No, but
yeah,
it's probably not touching. It's
yeah. Yeah, so that sort of numerical, there are sort of numerical gains in it. Yes,
yes, maybe, yeah.
yeah. No, but I mean, I think so. I think the vegetable orchestra is, yeah. I mean, it's wonderful, but it's like they're different, a different. Yeah, I think a different thing. I mean, those are proper instruments.
Sure, no, it's just.
Yeah.
And you're right. Tons of people have used vegetables, and probably I don't know, since millions of years, maybe.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, but I think, you know, it brings a new attention to
Yeah,
vegetables.
it fits perfectly. Like it's the poems, right? It's,
Yes.
right.
Yeah. Mhm.
I think there is an interesting connection because
Can you
if you
hear
think
me?
about eating, it's going inside, you know, and language is going outside. So there's this contrast. You take something in, and then language goes out, or so that's also a connection between food or vegetable and language, I would say, and it gets transformed in the body as well. So
Yeah, and that is beautiful. It's beautiful, that connection, because that you say, Dirk, because you know, in the drug, you know, in the poison, in a way, you have that difference when you are inside or outside. You know, when you take a drug, they consume inside of you. When you create a poem or your spell, a spell, when you say a spell, you put that thing outside of you, and you create that connection between the inside and outside, and how you can not only take aspire without expiring, you know? Or that is beautiful in your work, because how you like preparing to cook, and at the same time you're spreading that kind of blowing.
Yeah. So, yes. So, but they're both bodily practices, language and eating, and we need both of them. And so
Yeah.
because I'm
At the same time, here we're going to the toilets, you know, like when making caca, eating, aspiring, and breathing, connecting to the radio telescopes, and at the same time with the roots in the earth. That kind of connection of different levels, and that harmony we can create in this harmony is really interesting, you know. But also you talk about the first instrument that were vegetable, and also they were bones in a way. And then where are the bones of language? I think like some poets, there's not more like we're not talking a language in a way. We're not like trying to mean something. What do you mean? You know, that question. Like, but we are like in a kind of transformation from language to another thing.
Yeah.
It's coming like from, I don't know, Antonin Artaud, or the people before, the first cave poets from the the Neanderthals poets. But at the same time, we're like taking that kind of wave with the digital stuff to put that in another dimension of poetry.
Yeah. That it's connecting in some in some social way as well. Yes, or but also and maybe a sociality that involves things and
like now
objects. Yes,
like now we're 100 of people like connected, and poets from everywhere of the world, like talking like new in a kind of, I don't know if
Zoe, I wanted to ask you the sound we were listening to in the beginning. How did you create the sound? Is this vegetables as well recorded, or
which sound?
The underloop that we are listening to. You know, you have a sound environment that we are
Okay,
listening.
yes. So I had, let me see, what did I have? I had some eating grapes and slurping, and then that was one loop.
Okay.
And yes, and then another one that was wine glasses, and another one was eating carrot, I think.
Okay, so it's all connected to the eating of fruits.
Yes, yes, and
Yeah,
then
that's interesting. Yeah.
yeah, then I sang a bit, and then hit some things, and then I also had a few a few loops of phrases that were going through a chaos pad, and then I slowed it down, and then it went all chaotic, and I don't know what happened. And then I did, and then the only thing I couldn't get any sound out of really was the sunflower. So I cheated, and so I hit it on a
yeah, it is. Yeah.
on a guitar, yeah, which is out of sight. So there is actually a musical instrument, but I was mainly using it to so that the sunflower, I don't know, can you see that? Yeah, just that's it. So that the sunflower, because I can't see it. No, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Anyway, just as a sort of reverberating thing for the sunflower, yeah. But the rest of it was all voice or eating something or destroying it. Yeah.
Right.
Yes. But yeah, it's I mean it's very yeah, it's very interesting to have this environment to present it in, because yeah, I think I've recently acquired this RC was it 5 thing, and it's a bit too complicated for me. So yeah, but I look forward to working on that a bit more and seeing what it can do.
Maybe we can create the next vaccine, the how you call it in English, the vacuna, next vaccine from language for the next generation. Kind of like connection or all together, like and get kind of a mirror to language. The language cannot go inside; it just reflects and go outwards in another dimensions.
Yeah.
I can make it that all together in a way, no?
Yeah. Yes, I think that would be a good idea. So yeah, maybe perhaps we should try that in a little while. Make the vaccine. Before we do, though, I mean, I should say that there's another. There's another aspect to why I'm interested in what we're doing here, which is that I'm thinking a lot at the moment about this sort of transatlantic space, and I mean, this meeting is for practical reasons, it happens in English, and I benefit from that, but I also really appreciate that it is a kind of a multilingual space, so that's something that I'm kind of thinking about critically and working on critically at the moment, and and trying to think about what role sound and performance play in this sort of connection between languages, because I think that's actually a really special feature of this. I think it's because the focus is on sound that we have a collection of people really working across languages that so we're able to have I think really fascinating conversations because there's actually the sound is doing the translating for us in some way, isn't it? Or it's an element in it. So yeah. So but I'm really
I don't know what we choose with Felipe the English for that moment, but at the same time, since I was born, I think English has a kind of harmonics that you can understand without understand the meaning in a way. I don't know. Sometimes, we used to learn that all the language have that capacity, the ability to have harmonics that doesn't mean anything, but you feel like vibrating. That is when you're playing with different names in French or in English with the same fruit, vegetable, you have different frequencies that harmonics in you.
Yes. Yeah.
And the next year we saw that with Felipe we make in extraterrestrial language the next year. We will on which language is from Pleiad or
from these new planets they just discovered. No, but the thing is, I think about what Martin is saying, that at least in Latin America or in other countries, we are always listening to English, although we don't understand it, and it's the second language we have. I mean, that we are taught in school and all that. I mean, you can everywhere. Maybe you don't know anything about English, but you're always hearing English songs, and also, and that is very different from other countries. We usually see here the movies with the subtitles, not with the and not with the voiceover. So we hear a lot in English. I know that in Spain, for example, they usually put the other actors' voices, so it's different. But I mean, for us, it's very common to hear English and read in Spanish all the time. We're really used to. Yeah, I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's what it is.
But yes, but I mean, it's important for those of us who live in English to have other languages and to think about what they do. So and so it's, I suppose So I'm also just sort of coming clean here. Just that I am really very interested in what we're doing here, and I'm going to try and write something about it and respond to it, because it's been enormously rich. Everything.
We want to apply for some funding, so we'll need that writing. I don't know what for, but
But yes, but I mean, it's also, I mean, you were saying a couple of weeks ago, it's hard to write about performance.
But also that's something I wanted to ask you about your book, at least the first ideas I got. I mean, it's hard, but at the same time, when you analyze other poets' performances or sound works or musicians you include, I mean, you have some deep knowledge, not only about the field in which they are moving, but also the techniques, the traditions, the influences that maybe some other criticals from outside don't get. So I mean, there's a relation that can be very useful.
So, but I think sort of the reflecting on performance, thinking about what it does is well, for me it sort of also helps me to think about what I want to do. So I find it interesting. But
I just remember, I didn't tell you, Martin, I had to, but I was invited to participate in a talk next week. I had to give a workshop, that workshop was going to happen just 1 year ago, but of the revolution here in Chile, we couldn't make it. So they invited, no, but in 1 year more we'll be okay. So there will be no problem. Well, so we'll have to do it in via Zoom and all that. But I had another thing I wanted to talk, but now I want to talk about the conversations in Zoom, the meetings, but also like this kind of experience, this cycle Language is a Virus and another musical project I have with two friends. So I want to talk exactly about this kind of connections, misconnections, failures, feedbacks and all that. I mean, it's a whole new reality for all of us. So.
Yes, yeah, great, yeah, good. Another place for poetry to be in. So, yeah.
Well, so what do you say, Martin? Let's start making some noise.
Yeah.
Well, please open your mics and do whatever you like.
If you have any vegetables lying around.
Zoe, I thought you read some of your poems too, but
tangerines.
Oh.
Just want to take my glasses off.
Woo! Oh. Woo!
Küchlein. Angebraten. Mandelgeschmorte Pflaumen. Abschnitte gebraten. Pfirsiche gehackt. Aprikosen in Haselnusshülle. Große, 2 kleine, pro Person, eine große. Die Aubergine, 500 Gramm, Knollen, einen kleinen, bis 3 große. Einer Schmorpfanne, 500 Gramm, pro Person, 500 Gramm, Gramm, 200 Gramm, 5 Pilze.
Bueno, antes eso era impensado, ¿no es cierto? Y eso hace más difícil, por lo tanto, aunar voluntades y confiar en el otro. La política de todos los países es el reflejo también del país, de la población. Yo puedo inmediatamente decir, claro, la diferencia es que en China no hay debate. O sea, no hay discusión.
Las palabras revientan la ras de mi pierna. La mirada está fija. El vuelto su
Hier sind
montaje
rot
de
hinterher
elementos
und jeder
móviles
ist satt.
y elementos inmóviles. Los gestos van uno tras otro dentro del pecho, como los círculos sobre el abdomen. Y el cuello se prolonga, lejos, en el cuerpo.
Eine kalte, pikante Soße mit verschiedenen Salaten passt dazu.
Es desde el estómago que brotó el árbol, que empala la garganta, sube hasta mis narinas. Un cortocircuito corta la corriente de los nervios en mi nuca.
Im Gemüse eine willkommene Bereicherung.
Mi cabeza se asoma hacia un lago de plata, liso, que de pronto se
Grün im
disemina
Salat.
en el espacio, como una cuba de mercurio.
Sehr
Me trepanan
apart.
mientras mis piernas se alargan, se alargan, se alargan,
Zucker und Zimt bestreuen.
se alargan hendiendo unas nubes. De un lado
Oder in
hay
Öl
dolor,
schwimmend hellbraun backen.
del otro hay noche. Entre los dos una hélice gira en el vientre y el aire refluye hacia mi boca. Mi garganta está llena de plumas, geocélulas.
Sahnemerte. In eine Schüssel extra. Rotkohlgericht. Das ist Salat. Das ist delikat. Gut dazu. Reichen. Reichen. Ausgezeichnet. Ausgezeichnet. Ausgezeichnet.
names, Amaryllis, the time of the air, all bitterness and bitter woodish. Shepherding dust names, Amaryllis, the time of the air, all time doesn't come as if it's like arriving, somewhat right, you move, and it's what you are. Time doesn't come as if it's like arriving, somewhat right, you move, and it's
Ray.
time doesn't come as if it's like arriving, somewhat times you move, and it's time is time doesn't come as if it's like arriving, somewhat right, you move, and it's what you are. Time doesn't come as if it's like arriving, somewhat right, you move, time is what you are. Time doesn't come as time is right, you move, time is around what you are. Time doesn't come as right, arriving, you move, it's what you are. Time doesn't come as if it's like arriving, somewhat right, you move, it's what you are. Time doesn't come as if it's like arriving, somewhat right, you move, it's what you are. Time doesn't come as if it's like arriving, somewhat right, you move, it's what you are. Time doesn't come right.
Right.
What you are, you move, and it's what you are. This is what you are. This is what you are. You move, and it's what you are. This is what you are. You move, and it's what you What comes around again, what breaks. 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 This is what you are. This is what you are. This is what you are. What comes around again. This is what you are. 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 What comes around again. This is what you are. This is what you are. This is what you are. What comes around again, what breaks.
That's all, folks.
Arrivederci.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And next week, we have invited Carlos Soto Roman. So prepare, Carlos.
I'll try to be ready.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Zoe. That was wonderful.
Thank you so much, Zoe. We really enjoyed this.
Like some sound proteins.
I have some clearing up to do.
Thank you, Zoe.
Good luck.
Enjoy
Bye.
My first time in this space. Thank you to Andres for inviting me. I liked it very much.
Hola, Daniel. ¿Qué tal?
Cuando quieras.
Hola, Martín. Yes.
Thanks, Zoe. Bye.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Be safe.
Bye.